That was a game. That was in fact a game. Game written by people. A game that looked extremely beautifully and played beautifully by very talented animators, VFX artists, a lot of creative work on the visuals and gameplay. These animators, these VFX artists, voice actors, people that worked on the animation controls, people that worked on all gameplay and mechanics, everything amazing. The story, however, that the writers, that's a little something something. So I guess I'll give my final thoughts on this. So let's get the good out of the way. Let's say the things that are actually real nice about the game. Amazing audio, gameplay itself, the graphics, the gameplay, the controlling, everything, flawless. The people that worked on that, I applaud them so much. They really did make this. It's amazing to show how good these games go, and whatever Naughty Dog is working on for another game, whether it be part 3 or a new, I heard they might start a new IP. I already know for a guaranteed fact it's gonna look like, I don't know how, honestly, I'm surprised on how they're gonna top this game, in graphics wise, because this is a close tie with Red Dead 2. Is probably one of the most beautiful looking games, because the detail on them was amazing. And it shows how well it looked to where even it's translated even into the cinematics. It's cool to where graphics have gotten so good, because when you played part 1 years back, it was good, amazing for the time. But when you saw but then they had to amp up. You saw a difference between cutscene and gameplay because that was how technology was back then. But we've now reached a point to where the games look just as good as the cutscenes. They are equally matched in, they're perfectly in sync, so you're never actually broken from the actual, immersion. So that's something amazing about it. Then the gameplay was smooth, from part 1, going from, I replayed and did the remake. The remake, they adapted it towards there, but it's fluid. The animations on the character move well when they run. Having to crouch, move around, it's good. Having stealth is good. Stealth is pretty good in that game, despite me not really doing it. So all those were good. The music was amazing too. They did good with music. I really loved, despite some parts I was very forced in, and scenes where I was getting real pissed, I couldn't get mad at the music. I love the music. They really did hit it, they really did hit it with the soundtrack. Now the story itself, that's the biggest issue. That's honestly the only problem in this, and that's the saddest part, because despite this game having amazing gameplay, amazing graphics, the story is also what really drove people into this game. And personally, I don't feel like it was that good. So, what's interesting is a good majority, I personally don't really like the ending, but we'll get to that in a second. There's honestly parts that honestly could have heavily fixed this. The game also itself. Because most of the game isn't honestly... Most of the story actually isn't even bad. I actually genuinely kind of like what they were trying to go with, and I honestly thought it was kind of going somewhere. To where you get to see both sides of Abby and Ellie. You get to see why they're killing people they kill and their motives behind it. But what I didn't like is how they made it very one-sided the first half and then flip it the other way. And it just doesn't really it doesn't fix the mind right when you're hitting to the conclusion. It sucks to spend 8 to 10 hours as Ellie, and then you get to see all this chaoticness as Abby. You start the game off, and then you know that, Ellie and Joel are having a bit of issues. Oh, that kind of sucks. And then suddenly you transition to Abby. Everything goes on. And then Abby gets saved by Joel. And then when you find out when they find out they're after Joel dies in 2 hours into the game. Boom! He's dead. And it just hits you like a freight train. And it's just shock value and everything, and you're just freaking out, what the hell? He's dead. Jesus, it's crazy. And then you see Ellie's perspective on how she's devastated because of it. And then when you go through the rest of the game, now it's like a John Wick vendetta sort of thing, to where Ellie's gonna go get revenge. Tommy's like, don't do it. It's not really worth it. She ends up convincing him to go do it. Although I really feel like Tommy went to go do it because he just wanted to have her stay out of trouble. I feel like he saw it in his mindset to where she's gonna go kill him or go kill Abby and die trying. Honestly, I'd rather have myself die than let her die. That's honestly what I felt like why he left. And then when Marlena finds out, then she's like, you put him up to this, so this is your problem. You have to go save him. So Dina and Ellie go and take off. Then Jesse sneaks off because he wants to help them out. So props to Jesse just wants to try and help them out with this issue. So then the rest of the story goes on. As it goes on, we kill Nora, and we kill Owen, we kill Mel, we kill the one dude with, I don't know, the bitch scar across his face. So we kill all them, but the sad part is, it's like, so we kill all them. And you can tell from their perspective, they care, like some of them care, some of them don't care about Abby. Like some of them have feelings towards Abby. And so all that happens, and then you finally meet up with everybody, you find Tommy, you find everything, and it even sucked and it kind of sucked when she went to go kill Owen and Mel, because Jesse's like, I think Tommy's over there, like, he's closer to us, we can just go get him. We're like, this is the plan, right? We're gonna go get Tommy, and then we're just gonna get out of here. It's like, but Abby can be at the aquarium. And it's like, yeah, but we're here to get Tommy. She's not part of the plan, remember. We're here for Tommy. It's like, yeah, but she's over there and we can go get her. And so Jesse's just like, fine, have it your way. I'm just going to go get Tommy because I'm here for Tommy. So he leaves to go get Tommy. You go try and find Abby. You can't find Abby. And then you end up killing Alice. You end up killing Mel. And you end up killing Owen. So, I kill them. And I kind of felt bad because it's like, it was a very tense situation, and they didn't need to die in that scenario. Like, there could have been an outcome to where they probably couldn't have died. And I really felt bad for having to hit Alice, like killing Alice. And then you finally get back to the theater. Abby shows up, shoots the place, like storms the place, and then she's like, this is what you get for, like, I let you live and this is what you do. And she's like pissed. And then cut to black. And now spend another 8 to 10 hours seeing what happened to Abby during all that time. And the sucky part is, I honestly wouldn't have, and here's like what saddens me is, I actually wouldn't have mind her part. I actually really quite enjoyed and found it quite interesting. But what really sucked about it was that they're showing me after everything Ellie did. And then it's just kind of like, it's weird to where there's 3 acts into it. Act 1 is like the Ellie version, and then Act 2 is the Abby version, and then they make it to where the final act is what happens in Santa Barbara. But what sucks about all this is the first and second act, they shouldn't have done them separately. They should have put them together. That, and they also should have done better jobs with the flashbacks. One thing I kind of didn't like is that when you're progressing through the game, you're then seeing what happened months and years prior to Joel and Ellie. Like, you see the flashbacks, like Ellie's flashbacks, you see them with Joel, you see her with Tommy, you see everything going on, and you see how she eventually finds out what happened at the hospital, and then gets pissed off for that. And so, I feel like the whole point is to really show that with all of Ellie's flashbacks, like, despite what happened, she's trying to learn to forgive and forget. Like, despite her, at first she's like, I hate you and everything. And now she's kind of trying to just learn everything. Like, I still want us to, like, be on good terms. I don't want to hate you my entire life. But what sucks is they show you all this after he died. It would have been much better to see all those flashbacks prior to his death. Honestly, because he dies in the first 2 hours. If anything, show all those flashbacks, her going to the zoo, hanging out with Joel. They're there. And then all of a sudden she sees the Firefly banner and it says, liars. And then kind of like, liars? What does that mean? And then later goes through it, eventually goes with, like, eventually then does the whole thing where they're going to get her strings for, like, getting her guitar strings, them in the hotel and everything. Then after that, then she's kind of questioning, like, so you said there were more like me that were infected. I did. And how come I haven't ran into anybody else? And it's like, well, probably they're hiding it. And so she pretty much figures, like, okay, now you're hiding something from me. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm telling the truth. Then eventually she goes to the hospital And then she finds everything out. She gets the recording, finds out that he's dead. Like, ends up finding out that Jerry's dead. And Jerry was pretty much the doctor that was going to help make a vaccine. And now she died. And, like, now he's dead. She's still alive. But honestly, it doesn't even matter. Because Jerry's dead, like, because Jerry died, there's no way to actually even make a vaccine now. So Joel pretty much just kept her alive. And she feels like crap because he lied to her. And she was a cure and all this. And so she gets pissed off and mad at him and all that. But then later it shows that they're actually trying to fix things up. Like that they're trying to fix a relationship after that whole like party and everything. Like after the whole Dina kiss, like Dina kissing Ellie and the whole party and all that going on with Seth. And then after all that, like I really wish I had known I got to see all of that, because then you see they like each other. Like you see right when the game starts, you see how happy Ellie and Joel are. Because especially Joel himself, he is really happy and enjoying, like he's living, this is the happiest you've ever seen him in the, like ever in the game. Like at everything, this is the happiest you've ever seen him at the zoo. But then you see when she starts to find out, now he's finally back to his sad self again. And then after all that, they're trying to patch things up. And then boom, that might be probably 5-6 hours into the game. And after 6 hours into the game, boom, Abby kills him, everything, he's dead. And then it kind of shows to where they were having a bit of a rough patch. They were trying to get back together as like trying to get back into that father-son relationship, only for him to then die. And then she's now going on this whole vendetta against him. It would hit much harder if it did it that way. So I wish, like, that's the problem with the flashbacks being later. You're kind of trying to make me feel for, it's hard to make me feel for somebody after they're dead. That's kind of the whole feeling I got with the emotions of these characters and my feelings towards them. They didn't come off as genuine, they weren't as genuine as they could have been. Same thing with Abby. Then you get to see Abby's perspective of everything. All you know is she's pissed when you're about to start her thing. You know she's pissed at Ellie for something. So she's mad, she's pointing a gun, everything, she's mad, like, but then you finally see her perspective. Then when you're in there, you get to see everybody. You get to notice even little people like, what's her name? Whitney? Like, the little girl playing Hotline Miami. It would have been nice. It sucks that I kill her at the very beginning. I felt bad for killing her because she was just kind of defenseless as Ellie. But then later, they decide to show you her, like, when Abby meets her, to twist the knife further into you. It would have been better to see her, make it to where it's an option. You honestly don't have, but you are Abby. You can meet her. You meet Whitney as Abby first. They should make it to where that happens before Ellie does, and then make it optional. You don't even have to make it to where I have to see her. If I just walk up to a random person like, oh, cool, this little, oh, damn, she's playing Hotline Miami. That's cool. And then later you play as Ellie and you're swimming, and then suddenly you hear Hotline Miami music, then you'll be like, oh no, it's her. And then you stab her and you're like, crap, like Ellie just killed Whitney. Same thing to where I kill Owen, I kill Mel. I don't even know who they are yet. I really don't know them. And then I play as Abby. I get to know who Mel is. I get to know who Owen is. I get to know their whole thing. I know more about them. And then you get to see more flashbacks of Abby and Owen. You get to see Abby and Abby's dad. You get to see Abby and Owen and young Owen going to the aquarium, going on like a date thing. You get to know all that, and then she walks in to find, then later you play through the rest of her thing, only to then find them, just lying on the ground dead. So it shows all of this, and you see all of this, and I'm like, well, why? Why are you making me know Mel? Why are you making me know Owen? Why are you making me know Alice? Why are you making me know all of these people? Why are you making me know Whitney, a person who I only see for, a grand total of less than probably a minute, maybe even 40 seconds in the entire game? Why do you make me care for these people after they died? Why not? Wouldn't it be better as a narrative to make me care for them and then to see them taken away by the other person? It'd be much more interesting if the protagonists were kind of simultaneously switching out between the days, instead of making me having to do an entire section as one character. Because it would be much more interesting to meet characters on one perspective and then seeing it completely, because we are watching everything. The player themselves, we're watching the narrative. And I think what they wanted us to do at first was when doing it seems like if this wasn't their intention, this kind of what it came off as. When you're playing as Ellie through through the 3 days of Seattle, you're kind of only seeing it through her eyes. And then finally they want you to see it through Abby's eyes, which maybe their thought was, well, you don't know who you're killing and now you know the actions of your consequences. It's like, yes, but I feel like it would have came off much better if we got to see both of their sides at the same time. And then when we see Ellie kill Owen, we see her kill Mel, we see her kill Alice, we feel like horrible. We feel horrible ourselves because it's like she's killing these people we're actually getting to know. But you can then also understand from her perspective, like she doesn't know them. So you can't you feel bad for yourself because you're like, oh, I'm seeing all these people I love and care die. Like, it feels awful, but then you also kind of sympathize against her. She's like, she's just trying to kill them to get to Abby. Same thing when you look at Abby and she's going through all this stuff fighting Tommy. She's just trying to fight and survive to make sure Manny doesn't die. Manny gets shot. If it were simultaneous on both ends, if we got to do day one as Ellie and then day one as Abby, and then they kept doing you go through day one on both sides, then hit day two on both sides, it would have it would have felt much better. Same thing with the flashbacks. We just know oh, she clearly wanted Joel dead because he did something, but we don't know what. And so they wanted to probably be a twist, and they wanted it to be a twist oh, what did he do? He's wronged a lot of people. What could he have done? And then it's he killed her dad. I'm like, that does suck. And it also kind of sucks even on the previous behalf, because even for previous players, I didn't want to kill him, but the game never really gave me a choice. I shot him in the foot. I didn't even aim for his head. I shot him in the foot, and that took him out. So from that part, Ellie and Abby, it would have been much better if they made it to where you were... I guess a perfect game, even to put example, is Yakuza 0. If anybody hasn't heard of it, it's an amazing game. And it has 2 protagonists. And what's cool is the game has I think 15 or 16 chapters. And usually in each chapter, you will change to you will switch to the other protagonist. So you will spend... And each chapter can last, honestly, forever. But the chapters only change because there's a lot of side quests. The chapters only change when you progress through the story itself. And so chapters will flip over and over again as you keep going through the story. And you'll get to see both of their sides eventually leading up to them meeting. And what's beautiful is there's characters you meet on one protagonist's side. There's 2 characters, Kiryu and Majima. You get to meet characters from Kiryu's side. And you get to meet characters from Majima's side. And then eventually, you'll start meeting characters that they know. You start meeting characters that only the other person technically got to know. And so it's real interesting getting to see them meet up and how this whole thing's handled. I wish they kind of did that for this, because if Yakuza 0 made it to where there's half of the game is one character, the other half is the other character, but you spent the entire game playing as Kiryu, and then when you made it halfway, you spent half of the game as Kiryu, and then you spent the second half as Majima, the game probably wouldn't be as good. It comes off much better switching to each character. So that's really how I felt on that part when they made me do Seattle, all the Seattle days. It would have been Seattle, the flashbacks, they would have been better if you could switch through characters in Seattle by doing that after every day. You finish day 1 as Ellie, then you do day 1 as Abby, then you do day 2 as Ellie, day 2 as Abby. If they did it that way, this narrative would have came off 10 times better. That narrative because it's very weird the time jumps and the jumping in time, whether or not it's early of the day, end of the day, it comes off much more weird. And then they add in the flashbacks. It makes it very hard to kind of keep track to everything. It's kind of they're feeding you a giant loaf of bread of Ellie's backstory and emotions, and then right when you just scarfed all that down without even having any water or anything to drink to wash it down, then they give you Abby's all chunked in, and it's after that then you finally start hitting the ending. And there are good characters I like in this. I liked Tommy. I like Lev. Lev is pretty good. Lev was a good character. I really like what they did with him. I kind of liked Owen at first, but then kind of sucked that how he's acting. I didn't like this is a personal for me. I don't like love triangles, but I guess if that's just a nitpick on my part, I wasn't really caring. It was more annoying for me having to deal with the love triangle of the whole Jesse, Dina, and Ellie, that whole weird mix that was going on right now. And then I didn't like the one they were trying to do with Owen, Mel, and Abby. I didn't like that one either. Really wish I didn't have to do those things. All the Days in Seattle, and then many months later after JJ's born. I'm sorry, but what the hell happened to Tommy? Tommy became a whole different person when he came back. He literally just went like, because Tommy at the end of it, he just wanted to leave. Like, he just kind of wanted to get out of there now. He's like, listen, I just want to get, like, let's just get out of here now. Abby isn't worth it. And then, yeah, he gets shot in the back of the head. And then he tells, when he finally meets him, like, hey, me and Marlene are having some issues, okay? And then he shows up like, hey, I think I found out where Abby is. And then they're like, yeah, no, we want to go for Abby. And then he just, like, switches, and it's like, oh, wow, Ellie, you promised me we were going to do this, and now you don't want to do it? It's pretty damn pathetic. How dare you guys? And I'm like, when did... This doesn't feel... Tommy just kind of... It feels like they kind of wrote him in a way to kind of force Ellie to go out there. Because Ellie for once was forgiving and forgetting, and then they just somehow made Tommy spout that he promised her and she needed to go out there. And that just doesn't feel like Tommy. And then they make it to where Tommy made her go out there, so now she's going to go out there. And then you go through all that, you shoot through all those crowds and everything, and then you make it to Abby. She's defeated. And it's like, I don't even care. And then Ellie pulls a knife, like, she's like, I don't care, I don't want to fight you. I just want to leave. And then Abby pulls a knife on Lev, like, I'm gonna kill Lev if you don't do this. And it's like, but Lev had nothing to do with this. And it's like, you brought him into this. I'm like, she didn't have anything, like, it's dumb when she says, you didn't, like, you brought them into this. It's like, you could say the same for you. And maybe their whole goal is to make it hypocritical and all that. But it's just... You just lack of care at that point to where you just want to end this whole thing. Like, I was just rushing to the end. And now it sucks because Ellie is now alone. Like, Abby, who knows what's going on with her? She's probably going to see if she can find fireflies. But now Ellie is pretty much kind of on her own. Because Dina and JJ, she left her own family to go seek vengeance. And it's like, why? So yeah, if they make a part 3, I'm curious on how part 3 is going to turn out. I will say I am interested in Abby, so this game succeeded in that, but this game made me like Abby, but they had to do it at a cost of me just hating. They made me hate Ellie, to which they made me... Why I loved Ellie in the last game. They made it to where you loved her and everything, and now they just made it to, like, made it end to where you like Abby, but you kind of like her by default. Because they're making Ellie, like, just... They made her shit at the end. Like, kind of a shitty person to where she's gonna abandon her family. She's leaving JJ, she's leaving Dina for Abby and all that. And it's just, why? And then she's now all alone because of what she did. So it's like, it's a pretty wonky game. Pretty wonky story. There's a few things that could have been fixed. But the ending itself kind of really... She went all the way out there then to just not kill her. I don't want Abby dead. I honestly don't want her to die. I didn't want her to die. But it's just a weird... This is like... It's like watching Kill Bill. And then her name. Watch the movie if you haven't seen it. I'm not saying her name. So anyway, when what's her name finally makes it to Bill's house. And then she killed... Like, if it were the same type of plotline, it'd be like her walking up to Bill, everything. And then they're sitting on the table... And then she says, I'm taking my daughter. We're leaving. Like, it'd be like her doing the 5-finger, like the 5-heart finger punch, whatever, and then only hitting him 4 times, and then pausing on the 5th one and being like, no, I'm taking my daughter out of here, and that's it. Don't ever come for me again. And then he's just like, all right, I'm good. Bye. And then scene, end the movie. Like, it ends with the kid, like, with what's her name and the kid driving into the sunset. It's kind of how it felt in this. So, like, first 2/3 of the plot were good. They just should have been played in the pacing was done wrong. They should have rearranged the pacing of that, because that part was actually a good story. That first 2/3 of this game actually had a good plot. It was just their pacing and order of this whole thing was wrong, like, just felt wrong. The ending, however, just felt lackluster. Like, I didn't like that she had to leave her family and all that. I wish they gave me the freedom of choice, because then it can help separate the different players, like in Red Dead 2, because then it can give them a choice on whether or not they're willing to still seek vengeance or not. Because if the it would have been cool if they made the ending to where you can go and kill Ellie or Abby. Like you can go, you play as Ellie, you can choose to go for vengeance or not. Like you can choose that. Like you can choose to stay at home or you can choose to leave. But no, they make it to where you have to go. I didn't like that she went back for why go back again? You already learned. She taught you. She explained the first time she didn't kill you in Jackson because she's like, you didn't have anything to do with this. You can like, you don't have anything to do with this. I'm killing Joel because I have my reasons. He killed my dad. But I'm not going to let you or Tommy die because you guys had nothing to do with this. Boom. The rest of the plot goes on. She's about to kill Dina, and it's like, no, she's pregnant. And then Lev's just like, let's just get out of here. And it's like, if I see you again, I'll kill you. I'm leaving you. This is your second strike. And then it's like, she didn't listen twice. She just doesn't listen. And I don't like that they're writing her like that. Like, they wrote her like that. Like, that they made her turn into a person like, she's not learning. She should have learned from that. She should have learned after the theater not to go back for her. But, yeah, that's pretty much my take on my, like, final take on the entire story as a whole. So if they make part 3, honestly hope to see more of Abby. This game made me hate Ellie. So I'm gonna, when playing games now, when playing these games, like, if I ever get back into replaying these, I'm just kind of gonna fizzle Ellie from part 2 out of my memory and just remember part 1 Ellie. Because I don't like part 2 Ellie. Like part 2, I like Abby. But it's not that hard to, they made it, like, real easy to make her more likable. But, anyway, later.